Guests in the room are Sarah Sunday with OFA, Sheena Tucker with OBCR at SUNY, Brian Chetney from the Youth Bureau, Rachel Pierce, the Director of Employment and Training, Veronica Turner, Director of Fiscal Management out at DSS, and myself, Marty Babcock, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Marty. So if we have any difficulties, I may pitch this over to our Vice Chair, Brad Trudell, to run the meeting. But if everybody is ready, we have a quorum, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I'd like to ask Brad to lead the pledge. Thank you, Legislator Trudell. If folks have looked back to, I think there are November minutes. Yeah, November 30th. I'd call for a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so let's start off with HS number 1, resolution authorizing the Budget Modification Department of Social Services to accept state funds for the Safe Harbor program. Marty, are you going to be able to brief us on some of these acceptances today?
Yes, wherever there are questions.
Why don't you plan on running through them for us?
Okay. So we are asking to accept $40,000 in state funds for Safe Harbor services. And Safe Harbor is contracted out to the CAC, the Child Advocacy Center, with activities targeted to exploited and sexually trafficked youth. They establish an emergency needs team to respond to immediate needs of people that have been sex trafficked within our county.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion to approve. And Roy, this is Brad. Would you like me to read off the names of who's doing the motions only because of recording purposes?
Unfortunately, I cannot hear you unless you speak up a little bit more.
Or can you hear me all right now?
Yep.
Okay, would you like me to read off the names of who makes the motion and who seconds it for the recording purpose?
If people raise their hands, I think I can tell who everybody is.
Okay.
So maybe raise your hand when you make the motion. Other than that, as long as Betsy's recording it or we have somebody recording that, I'm okay with it, as long as we have a first and second. So on that resolution, we'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Our second resolution, I'd to accept federal funds for the non-custodial parent employment program. Marty, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, the non-custodial employment program is a collaborative program between our employment and training office, our child support unit, and the family court. And it targets non-custodial parents who are either unemployed or underemployed to either get them back to work or improve their income so that they can meet their court-ordered child support requirements. These are 100% federal funds, no cost to the county.
Any questions for Marty? Okay, all those in, need to have a motion again. Look for a motion and a second.
I make a motion.
That was Tim, right?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. HS3, resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services to accept federal funds for the Transportation Incentive Program.
Yes, this allocation of federal funds is $37,894 to assist people who are participating in work activities or who are employed with their meeting their transportation needs.
Other questions?
Part of the auto program?
Rachel, do you want to come up and speak to this?
Before we do that, can I ask for a motion and a second in order to discuss?
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm going to have Rachel Pierce speak to the program.
Thank you.
The tip funds here would cover some auto repairs, but also helps if a client is unable to pay for their license, to get their license, to get to work. Also, a month of insurance costs, we can do that so they can get their card back on the road. So it is another, it's an option for funding to help those that do need assistance with getting their transportation to and from employment, which seems to be the biggest barrier that we run into with clients.
Any questions?
Yeah, so how successful has this been in the past?
We have had quite success with this. It usually is a one-time thing for clients to come in. Sometimes they are at risk of losing their employment without having some assistance from us, so we can keep them employed in their jobs. But we do have quite success with this.
Other questions? Okay, we have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed?
Aye.
And that was Legislator Karasik.
Yep, that's me.
Thank you. Okay, motion passes. Sorry. Okay, on to HS 4, resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services to accept New York State Code Blue aid.
Yes, under New York State regulation, we are required to assist people with housing and warming on any day when the temperature, any night, when the temperature drops below 32 degrees. This money helps us pay for those services. We also contract with Victory Transformation for their warming center, which very often helps us avoid the costs of hotels, motels. People can go into the warming center and stay warm throughout the night and then be able to use the daytime center also for meals during the day, should they be homeless. So these are 100% funds. There's no local share for them in the amount of $99,927.
Any questions? Look for a motion on this resolution. Sorry, keep things, gotta get used to how to run these meetings again. Okay, now, any questions? I know there weren't, but we'll ask one more time. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On to HS 5, resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services to accept Federal CARES Act ESG funds.
Yes, the ESG funds is a grant that we talked about either late last year or earlier this year, which assists people who are housing vulnerable or homeless. and it can assist them to transition to housing that is more permanent for them rather than standing them up in temporary shelters such as hotels, motels. It also provides for the support of some staffing to do some homeless assistance and prevention activities, working with them on how to look for housing, how to be a good tenant, all of those types of issues that our homeless population need.
Look for a motion to discuss.
Second.
Brad, I didn't catch that. So we have a first and second?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions for Marty on this grant?
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
The first one that I had was, these CARES Act funds, how earmarked are they? Is it very specific what they say you can do with it? Is it something we have local control over? Just a question about that specifically when we see these CARES Act funds, or a Bill question or directly.
For these particular funds, the ESG funds, we had to write a plan and have a state plan approval.
So the funding is to support the plan that locally run, is that correct?
Correct.
And as a follow-up question, when we are doing more permanent housing, how long-term are we talking here? Are we talking days? Are we talking 3 weeks? Just on average, do you have that?
I don't have that information at the tips of my fingers, but I can certainly get that for you.
And follow-up question to that, with any place we are putting people in long-term rental, what type of review do we have at the quality of the place we're putting? Is that under the same review process that we would do with HUD? Is it PSS separate review? What standards do we hold those landlords to for the homes that they're being put in?
For rental assistance through assistance programs, any shelter that a person wants to rent is up to the client because those funds are the client's funds. They are not our funds. We give them to meet the need for shelter. So if for example, a landlord's home was deemed unsuitable and by the code enforcement people condemned, then we could withhold that funding and put it toward another place for that person to go, but not, that's really generated by the client.
So there really is nothing then set up in place prior to living in a location that verifies the safety of the place they're living. Is that correct?
Tim?
Enforcement, there's a number of our municipalities do not have, like I would assume, a rental property requirement or permitting. What is to say that these homes are any better than living
Right.
specifically? Because people might actually be better off. I think your point is because we give the money to these people, is that because of the plan that we wrote? Would there have been something we could have written into that plan that would require oversight of the county?
That goes for the ongoing rental assistance programs. We do inspections of hotels and motels that we use for emergency services. On a regular basis, our fraud investigators go out and do those inspections. And that's according to a state guideline.
That's for the hotels and motels.
Correct.
Is there any sort of process that we could put in place to verify that the safety of we are placing?
We do not place them. We give them we give them resources. These places are listed for rent, and it's up to them to choose where they want to live.
Is that by law or by our local requirement?
That is by law. We don't establish that for them.
Could I make a request of those of you who are participating in discussion in the room? Can you really lean into your mics and speak a little bit louder? So Tim, are your questions, have they been answered adequately?
I think they're answered as well as they're going to be.
Well,
I do have a follow-up question or statement I'd like to make in discussion.
can you go ahead and do that, but speak up as best you can?
Yes, I guess my concern, our concern is the same as Tim. You know, when we're giving out money to help these people, I think there should be some standard that we should ensure that the housing they're being put into is covered. And, now, you referred to, code officer, a code officer in any community wouldn't necessarily know that that particular building, structure may not, you may not know anything about it, so I would think that there should be some responsibility here to be sure that when we send this money and the people are taking the money, to house these people that eat, safe, healthy environment they're moving into. That's my opinion. I think it should be some way we should check that.
My understanding is that the way New York State sees this, or the providers of the grant funds, is the money is owned by the person who's getting it, and we aren't in charge of telling them where to go. So unless a place is condemned, they can, until we can change the state or federal laws regarding this, we can't tell them what to do with the money. Is that correct, Marty? That's my take.
That's correct.
So we may not like it, but this is the way this assistance program is set up. So it's really more on the local codes officers to make sure that if a place is really unsafe, that it's deemed so.
I think you missed my whole point here. Code officer, and being one myself, there could be a situation where we would not know, this is, where this place is being taken care of. When you talk about condemning, well, let me tell you something, condemning a place is not an easy thing to do. So, I mean, you just can't throw that figure up, oh, they can condemn it. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. Okay? I'm saying that there's some responsibility here for us to be sure that the housing is adequate and safe. It's not some slumlord or something. I mean, that's it. That's my personal opinion. I probably won't change it either. So, thank you.
If I could also, so my question is, since we wrote the plan that was funded, couldn't we have written into the requirements some sort of oversight or guarantee of safety? I guess guarantee is the wrong word, but at least some sort of oversight of the location that they're going. If, for example, if they were going into one of the cities, we could require a rental permit, which could guarantee that these homes were fit for someone to live in. That's my question: is do we have more control because we wrote the plan?
I don't know that we can require more than what the law would allow us to require. I mean, we can, our plan is to provide assistance, to provide resources, educate people. You know, they can ask questions about where to complain if something is not well taken care of by their landlord. But we would not be withholding our rental for those purposes.
So in other words, it's back to the idea of whether we pick and choose the place or they pick and choose the place. And if we're not allowed to pick and choose the place, that would be exceeding the law. We can't exceed New York State law. I mean, I don't know how we could require someone to live in a place that we pick if that's against New York State law. I mean, I imagine we could look into that, but that's.
We're not saying we're going to pick the place. I'm saying that in a rural area, especially, not, it's probably a little bit easier here in the city, but for a rural area, the service. We certainly would, she would certainly go take a look at it. And I think if we should say an approved place, we don't say where, but it's gotta be an approved place. I've seen my own, since I'm in a court office, but I've seen where people got funding for structures that were less than adequate. And I think that we have the responsibility, we're not changing state law because it's also covered in the building code. But the building code officer doesn't know it exists, and he can't go check it. All I'm saying is that there should be something in there that should be approved housing. Period. We're not saying what or who or where, but we want it approved.
Well, that means you're approved housing, you're selecting.
I don't think we should get the we're not selecting.
Marty, what is the process after someone is approved for funding? What comes next?
Did I work with it? That's for rapid rehousing, requires an inspection. So Veronica is telling me that rapid rehousing does require an inspection. But once a client moves into an open case and gets full public assistance with rental included, then that gets paid to the landlord directly.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. So is this federal money or state money?
This it's state money. Well, it's probably federal money passed down through the state.
Okay, so you're saying under rapid rehousing, they are.
Uh-huh.
So if I needed housing, I picked a place prior to releasing funds to make sure that it does meet.
Using the rapid rehousing funds, yes.
Is all rapid housing money?
Yes. Veronica's telling me yes.
It is. Okay. Because I know you guys bust your butt, but I'm in agreement with Mr. Gear and Mr. Stahl, representing our city, that has some difficulty with people in place. And I don't know whether who's placing them, and then all of a sudden they're crying out, my water, I have water. You guys were involved in a situation with a family that water was never even turned on, wouldn't be turned on. So I agree that there needs to be a look, but if you've got process of inspection, I am more comfortable with that. Thank you.
Our housing specialist.
Marty, do you have further comment?
Veronica is texting with Gidget Stevens, who's our Director of Assistance Programs, and she said that our housing specialists that we pay for using the ESG funds go out with them and they go through a checklist for the housing inspection.
So, but in that case, like, for example, if it was in the city of Oswego, where we have the memorandum of understanding with the city, and after the fact, if that location was on the rental list approved by the city, up to date on their whatever fees and taxes, etc., not condemned, but then over the course of a year or so, something happened and that place was to lose that ability, we would still not be able to not pay that landlord. Are we giving the money to the client or to the landlord at that point?
Well, for the rapid rehousing money, that would go, we would go through that inspection process. But under our regular assistance programs rentals, we don't go through that inspection process, because those people are deciding for themselves where they're going to live, and we don't have the recourse to tell them whether they can live there or not.
Any further questions?
This is Tim. I will support this if and only if we can have a follow-up report of this $500,000, where it's spent, and verification that there is some sort of oversight of the location. Otherwise, I would not support this.
I'm in agreement with Tim on that subject.
Well, we're not going to be able to change that today, so I guess we better call a vote on this. Did we have a first and second on this one? I'm not sure.
All we're asking for is a follow-up report. Yes, and no, it's like,
What if I were to make a motion to amend to require that in the resolution? Would that be acceptable?
I don't think we have enough information to do that. Again, I didn't hear if there is a first and second on this resolution. Okay, if there's not, or if there is, let's reaffirm that there's a first and second on this resolution.
There's not a first and second. I'll make the first one.
And I'll second.
Okay. Tim, do you want to consider an amendment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend to include language that we can discuss the exact language, but ultimately to show a accounting of where this money is spent and verification that there is oversight of the homes, if allowable by law.
Mr. Chairman, this is Phil. May I have a couple minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this issue did come up a couple of months ago, and as legislature here to suggest looking into it, I did ask DSS to look into it. Combing through my emails, because I knew I had the answer here somewhere. DSS conferred with New York State Legal Counsel, and OTDA Legal Counsel on this. When it comes to permanent housing, the client has the right to live wherever they want. DSS cannot oversight unless the client makes a complaint under this legal act. And according to the email, they were going to send some additional language. I don't know whether DSS has received that or not, but if they have, or when they do, it should have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With that information, I will rescind my motion.
Are we prepared to vote on this resolution now? Any other questions? We know that we have some work to do in this area. We'll continue on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please raise your hand. Thank you. HS6 is a resolution awarding professional service contract RFP 20 DSS 004 case management services. I know that Marty, you were informed of a handful of questions that
Yes.
the legislature had. Do you want to just go ahead and take the floor for a minute?
Yes, actually, I'm going to defer to Rachel Pierce on this. We did get 4 different responses to the RFP for the case management services. And case management services are really targeted for those people that are receiving assistance that really need an extra hand in getting prepared to enter the job market. Okay, some of them are organizing appointments, scheduling things, being able to show up to work on time. These folks would be going out into the field and working with people directly on what they need to do to be able to maintain a job. Rachel, do you want to come up and talk about this? So we did choose our recommendation is to award the RFP to Oswego County Opportunities. And I'll let Rachel talk about why that is.
Our preference on this to award to Oswego Opportunities we have actually worked with them on this program in the previous contract for the last 5 years, and have had great success with it. We have a longstanding relationship with OCO, and they also do have experience with workforce development programs with their SCORE program. They also operate a lot of the supportive services within their other departments that these clients that we are referring to them, they really focus on. Having the knowledge of all the community resources that are available, and also the businesses that are within the community to help these folks obtain and retain their employment. There's also the continuity of service with them already holding the current contract that does expire at the end of this month. It would not take 2 to 3 months as some of the other contracts would to get up and running, so that the clients that are currently in this program would not without communication and assistance for a few months as well. The clients that are go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
I was just going to say that the majority of the clients that are referred to this program are harder to serve clients. They have multiple barriers that really hinder them from gaining employment on their own. So our employment specialists really do come up with the plans, and then these CMAs take it, and they are the hand holders in this process and really help these folks.
I know that Sheena is in the room. Did she want to add some thoughts?
Sure. I think there was a question as to why Workforce Development Board had reviewed these RFPs, and I'll just share a little bit of background about my office. So I am the Director of Office of Business and Community Relations, and as part of that role, I also serve as Executive Director for Workforce Development. In our office, we operate a contract with the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance to actually review proposals and award contracts and then manage those contracts. So it is something that we do have a background in. In addition to that, we work obviously very closely with the Career Center and the WIOA funds that we oversee. So we were asked if we would review these. I brought up my team, 3 people from my team. We reviewed the RFP. We looked at the difference of what they were offering. And for us, really understanding exactly what Rachel had said, it was that continuity of service that was important. It was also the fact that OCO does employ over 500 people. It is a local organization, and they bring a lot of grant revenue into the county, as well as provide a lot of supportive services. So I think it was really evaluating that piece compared to the other entities that were there. So I don't know if anybody has any questions in addition to that, or what we do as the board as well. So
before questions, I'd look for a resolution or a motion to discuss.
I'll second it.
Okay, questions for any of these folks?
I have a couple questions. The first one is, we've discussed this a number of times, but I do not in any way feel that it's fair to this for a pro that they're already doing it. I think that that's actually unfair to the other organizations. What I would like to see is every single time we put these out for bid or for RFP is evaluating them on their own merits. I understand that if you currently have a seat, you don't have to be out. That makes sense. But ultimately, it's a 5-year contract, and I'm not too concerned about a 2-month, 3-month startup if the program is worth it. The other point I want to make is this is an RFP, not a bid, is my understanding. So this is not you get $5 to do $5 worth of services. This is give me your proposal and tell me how much it costs. So with that in mind, I don't feel comfortable rating OCO as being the winner of this because they already were in the seats and they do a lot of good. Those are all great things, and I don't disagree with any of it. What I do disagree with, though, is I want to see a little more on these RFP results that says this is why this plan the third year, I know there's some discussion, I would highly encourage that we don't wait for the third year to review this. Let's look at it sooner. Let's make sure this is benefiting the county the way we expect it to. Personally, I've had experience with another folks on here, and yes, they might be higher, but are we getting more? I think that's the discussion that I want to talk about with our RFP results is it worth paying more to get? Don't just come and tell me they're cheaper or they're more expensive. What are we getting for the act amount? I think that's the question I would have to the committee that reviewed this RFP is when you were reviewing this, how did you determine that the one that was, if they're in the middle, the second price was the best bang for their buck?
Well, I will give you just a background as far as how we reviewed it and typically how we review in my office. So normally what we do is we would give 30, so we look at 100 points and we would give 30 points to the lowest bid. And then we would take a look at all the deliverables and then we would make an assessment based on the RFP, what we were asking and putting it in there. These were the sheets that we had received. And so based on what we were looking at, you know, we just went through kind of pros and cons of that. I can understand what you're saying as far as relating to the fact that they are incumbent, that they're currently working there. A further recommendation that I had made to the group was actually considering offering, if the budget allows, to offer 2 contracts, because I think it's important to see, to be able to analyze and look at 2 different organizations providing the same services, to really be able to make more objective analysis of that. But as far as the day-to-day, I can defer to Rachel, as she probably has more of the feedback as far as how the success of the program is doing.
I actually do have statistics for you, and these are from the program we've been doing with OCO. So these run from May of 2017 until December of 2020. These are based on, there were 216 clients in this program. Of that 216, 177 or 82% of them overcame at least one barrier, whether that was transportation, childcare, education, stable housing, many more. 115 of them, 53%, obtained employment. Some were part-time, some were full-time. 100% of them were referred to other community resources and services for additional assistance. 76% received assistance with food, clothing, and housing. 84% of them had a CMA staff advocate for them regarding numerous needs, and on 25% of those occasions, the CMAs actually attended the client's appointments with them, with whatever other organization they were working with. 84% received assistance for communication skills, 93% got time management skills, and 80% actually received budgeting and money management skills for when they did receive employment. There were 2,721 sessions attended by clients in that time frame, and 84% of them did involve job search. There were 30,569 successful contacts made between the CMAs and the clients. And just a further note on that, the CMAs at OCO go above and beyond to try and communicate with these clients. They did a lot of face-to-face, and then obviously with the pandemic, that was not an option. They do your typical phone calls and emails and text messages with clients, but they have also started utilizing Facebook Messenger, and that has become quite successful. And a lot of that is because these clients, they may have a cell phone, but they don't have minutes left. So as long as they're connected to Wi-Fi, which they can get free at some public places, then they can communicate with these CMAs. So that is successful as well.
Other questions?
If I could, what is the amount of the budgeted line that we have for this?
It's right here. Year one, 145,126.
No, I'm sorry. What is the amount that we have budgeted? How much is available versus what was?
I don't know what that is.
Meaning like, this is money that we get to spend, right? So how much money did we get to spend?
Do you know that?
No. Yeah, we'll have to get you that, Tim. 'cause
The only reason I'm asking is do we have enough money to even afford the ones that were higher? I guess this is pass-through money, so there's an amount of money that we're awarded. You know, are we saving the state money by going with the cheaper option here? I think that, I guess where I was. Is there any local share to this?
No. I want to say no. If there is, it's minimal.
The director's point, I guess what I was looking at was, would there be the potential for funding to be there to potentially bring in multiple organizations? Or to, like she said, kind of compare, contrast, see who is doing it. One of my concerns with awarding the incumbent every year is, although they've done a great job, we don't know, potentially someone could be doing a better job. And it's very simple to end up with the same people year after year. Just asking if that's something we've looked into.
We do have some clients that are referred outside of these contracts to Salvation Army and their Pathway of Hope program. It's not something we have a contract with, but with their program, we have had a handful of clients that have been referred to them, and they do a successful job too.
But that was substantially more. I mean, they were $35,000, $36,000 more in the first year with a 2 to 3 month startup.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the point of my question about, do we have the money from the state, and is the benefit there to go with them? I'm very familiar with the Pathways Hope program, having been funded through other anti-poverty funding initiatives. I understand the benefit that it adds and the quality that they have. I didn't want to get too much into the individual awardees. I just wanted to understand the process. And if there was funding available, were we leaving some on the shelf here that could be used to help folks around here? Thank you.
Okay, well, I look for a motion to approve this.
I think you got your motion already.
I'm not, did we? I should have written it down. I did not.
Mike and Tim was first and second on that, right?
All set then, right? Okay. Is there a way in the future that we can take a look at making these shorter? And I mean, why is this contract 3 years before we review?
I think that's typical for the RFP requirement. We do generally assess the success of our contracts on an annual basis and throughout, because we meet with our contractors on a regular basis.
So if there was something going terribly wrong during the first year, we would be able to find a way to get out of the contract.
Absolutely, because that's standard language in all of our contracts, is that we can give them a 30-day notice and for cause and be done.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we have a bid for child support service processing. That went to the low bidder. Do we need a resolution separately for that, Phil?
No, just a motion and a vote.
If that was a yes, a little hard to hear. Can I look for a motion to create a resolution to accept this bid for support service processing? Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, you just need a motion to approve. It doesn't need a resolution.
okay. So look for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Okay, questions about this one? This is a selection of the low bidder. Even though in one area, one of them is lower, but in other places, they're not. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll look for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd like to, so we'll accept that. I'd like to take a second before we go to our individual department updates. Phil, do we have to take any action regarding the grant that we're going to refuse today?
I think, we really have to get close to these mics to be heard. Yeah, I think, the committee should, either by consensus or by vote, support the recommendation of the,
Oh, well, what do you think about that, Terry?
We just lost them.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Phil.
Oh, they're back on, I think.
Not here.
Well, someone was just laughing.
Hi, Phil, this is Roy. Can you kick the rest of the meeting over to Brad? Your video's all locking up. I don't see anything right now. Okay. Well, yeah, because I have nothing. I can't see what's coming out of the room.
okay. They're working on it.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
You're
Very
showing
good.
that we have-
So are we ready for, each of the departments then for,
we need to,
we finalize the vote?
we need to, vote on rejection of the grant award. That's not in the packet, it was a discussion item. I think that should be a description of what we're voting yes or no on. Right. Marty, are you up to speed on what happened with that grant?
I'll pull on Rachel where I do. So this grant was applied for through an opportunity through Red Sea, targeting the healthcare industry. And our proposal initially was targeted toward medical assistants, dental assistants, and upgrading CNAs who were high-performing CNAs to LPNs. Okay. When COVID hit, the release of the assignment of this money was slowed way down, and we only learned of what we were awarded not too long ago, within the last couple of months. And the timelines for which the program requirements would have to fall do not match any of those programs. So it's a one-year program. They would want people to be able to start and finish within a year with their certification. Medical assisting was supposed to start in March, but that again has been delayed because they don't have a proper applicant pool at City. We were targeting a few specific healthcare providers within the community to upgrade some of their CNAs, and they are now telling us they do not have an adequate applicant pool for us. St. Luke's went ahead and put their own folks through without waiting for this grant. Other people can't afford to have their staff off the job, the CNAs off the job long enough to complete the training. Beyond that, city has to meet all of the restrictions of COVID with social distancing, so they've had to reduce their class sizes. So we would have to be able to provide training to 22 people, and we don't have any guarantee that we could meet that goal. With our initial proposal, we had asked for money not only to pay for their tuition and incentives for meeting their milestones of the training. Thank you. We also asked for funding to be able to pay them a stipend to replace their wages that they would have lost by being in school rather than at work. That's really what made the whole program work. That was the part of the program that was not approved. We only received funding for the tuition. With city's policy for tuition, if we would have to pay for all of the tuition up front for our applicants, and if they go more than 18% of the classes, we don't get any money back should they fail or drop out after that. If by this grant's restrictions, people have to succeed at least 51% of the training in order for us to claim that as an entry for the grant, as a success for the grant. So anybody that falls within that gap would be the responsibility of the county dollars to pay for their tuition, which was estimated at about $147,000 all told if people did not succeed, which is a lot of money. We initially thought we were going to have a good pool of candidates from all of these area healthcare providers. Since that's not happening, we would have to pull people from the street to go into these trainings, so we would have much less of a guarantee of success. We also can do the same kind of training without the stipend portion of it that we had applied for using WIOA funds. So this money would actually replace WIOA funds, which we are already struggling, mainly because people just aren't walking through the door looking for employment at this point due to COVID, largely because of daycare. Maybe they don't have daycare for their kids, or they don't trust anybody to take care of their children, or they're on unemployment and making enough money on the benefits for unemployment that don't give them much motivation to look for work. So we're doing everything that we can to beat the bushes for people and let them know that employers are really looking for employees, but we get turned away an awful lot because there aren't the mandates in place, there aren't the requirements in place. So we're not looking like the best game in town to a lot of people.
So I think I can summarize this here a little bit. So Roy and I spoke with Stacy last week or 2 weeks ago about this. And because the money has been available out there, that, as Marty said, that $147,000, but we've had some limited success in the past. So again, just to summarize here, what it would require is a minimum of 22 people to be enrolled in the program to begin with. And the CNAs, which is a certified nurse's assistant, we have a number of those in the county. What we want to do is, they provide great services, but in order to provide them with some better opportunities to try and give them training, which would upgrade them to licensed nurses. But so again, that would be a minimum of 22 to enter the program. They would be educated through BOCES. Take that $147,000 divided out there. But in the past, kind of the clincher on this one was that we're required to have at least a 51% success rate. We haven't necessarily met that in the past. So with that in mind, we didn't want to take that chance now to take this money. And if we didn't meet that success rate of 51% or greater, then the county would be on the hook for all of the money. So at this particular time, it's probably not entirely fiscally prudent then to pledge out that money with limited success. Those few who would make it through, they could improve themselves. But again, a piece of this is that it's just fiscal prudence right now. We didn't turn it into a resolution because rather than that, we wanted to have the committee here to evaluate it prior to turning it into a resolution for the full legislature to evaluate. So basically what we've discussed in the past as well is this committee taking a look at it and making the decision on that. So again, approximately 147, Marty?
That could be the potential liability to the
Yeah,
county.
and that's a good way to put it, potential liability. No, not per student, for the whole group, for the entire group. So a minimum of 22, which we're having trouble finding, 51% of that 22 have to make it through without making us liable for the money on payback, and we haven't had a good track record in the past for that. And Marty mentioned the WIOA as well, the WIOA, which is the Work Incentive Opportunities Act. For those handful, perhaps, that we could find out there, we might be able to provide them with some money through that WIOA. So that's the summary, I think. And Marty, you provided us with some great information and great data there. But hopefully I put it down there a little bit succinctly. Anything else to ask? Or Marty, did I miss something? Did I oversimplify or miss a germane
So
point?
Brad, you're saying that there will be a resolution stating most of these facts and figures that we're going to vote on in writing?
No, it depends on what we determine here today.
Well,
So Mike, your question is, will there be a resolution? If we say yes, we want to go ahead and make a resolution and put it to the whole body. If not.
That's what I'm saying. I think it should be something in writing, a resolution to explain this. So when people ask what happened, it'll be there pretty clear why we didn't do it.
Phil, isn't this committee action?
You could do it either way. It doesn't require a resolution because you never did a resolution to approve applying for the grant. You haven't done a resolution accepting the award.
Right.
So we thought the committee could just do this,
Okay.
give the department head some backup and when they decline, or you could go ahead, as you said, have something in writing, have the legislature formally adopt it in a resolution so that it's clear. And, in hindsight, maybe that might be better to have on the record in terms of future days that to spell out the reason why so that we're not possibly penalizing future CFA.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm.
Roy, we see, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I can only hear, so I can't see you. That's okay. There was a long in the draft packet. There was a long memo on this. The bottom line is that, and I can get whoever wants it another copy of it. It just didn't seem to make any sense to put the county on the hook for the potentially $147,000 of a $199,000 grant.
Roy, I think we've already pretty well discussed this when you was off screen. And if we're all in agreement, I think, that we want this rejected, but we want it in a resolution form. So we're on record and it explains why we didn't accept the grant. And that our county attorney said he would develop that for us. So I think the rest of the discussion is pretty well done.
I have a question about it if I could. So this was a competitive CFA application that we put in from one of our departments. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I guess my question is, this is through Empire State Development. It's a Regional Economic Development Council award. First question I have is, usually they would allow you to request an extension. So if it's a rushed issue because of COVID and the other things we were discussing, because the federal government has funded people not to work, if the theory is that this could be a good program to offer in the future, then have we, number one, requested an extension? I would believe they'd have no issue, especially if we only just found the award 2 months ago.
When I spoke to Stacy about this, she indicated that there has been some back and forth between the county and the grantor, and they're not really budging on these requirements. I see Rachel standing up. She must have something to add to that.
It was first designed as a one-year grant. They did say there could be a possible 3-month extension on the end of that, which could be evaluated towards the end of that year. But in the timeline of when we would have to start it and the timeline of the LPN program that would actually go until June of next year, it still doesn't coincide.
And then I guess the question that I have is why would we have applied for a competitive grant for something that we had history showing we couldn't do well? I guess I'm confused at that. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Like we just got done saying we are worried about hitting our 51% goal because we haven't had good record of that. Well, isn't that the grant we applied for?
I think, did that number change from the past, Marty? Yeah, the 51% wasn't in place in the past, but I think they may have learned that without that kind of rate of passing, it wasn't necessarily, that had to be a goal in order to get this because of the performance in the past. Is that accurate?
We have had pretty good success with the LPN program. The 51% piece that you're catching is the amount of class time that a person is required to have completed successfully in order for us to charge that off to this grant. If somebody does not get to that 51%, then, and they're past the 18% where BOCES does not give us any money back, then that becomes our full liability.
In other words, this is different than what we applied for in several different ways.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Brad. You can continue to run the meeting.
Jim Krasik has a question or comment.
So I have a comment and then a question. Marty, is there any possibility to actually redirect these funds into another program?
This is Rachel. I've gone back and forth with the state on this since they notified us of this grant award back on December, I think it was 22nd. We actually expanded originally. This was written to only fund trainees in the LPN program at City. They did agree to expand it to the medical assistant and the dental assistant due to the fact that there are currently only 15 students in the LPN program this year due to restrictions. So they did expand on that. But it is this part of the grant that we were awarded are strictly tuition funds. This original grant application was written for $470,000 to be able to pay for wage stipends for the participants. And we were granted $199,000, which was only the tuition side, which, like Marty said, we have where we owe $1 that we can still do that for students. But we're having trouble with that right now.
So there's no pathway to redirect beyond what they did.
No, what this grant is the unemployed underemployed worker training grant. So it's for training dollars.
Yeah, I agree with, we should not accept it if there's no open door that allows us to go another direction. I guess if there's a sidebar concern is, how do you feel the state's going to think about it when we tell them, take your money and it'll go away on this grant, and when we have future grants? You're a very grant-oriented part of our agencies. Are we damaging that?
I did actually ask that when we spoke with the DOL representatives a few weeks ago. Asked if it would be okay if we took the grant and then did not spend anywhere near what it was actually written for, and they said that actually looks worse than not taking it, and basically admitting from the beginning we don't think we could do it, rather than taking it and only spending a few $1,000s.
All right, thank you.
I think it might be worth noting here as well that I think we took a look regionally as well to see if it would be possible that if we here in Oswego County couldn't necessarily come up with 22 or come up with the numbers, could we do it regionally to accept this number? And that was not going to be possible as well. So I think that they've made a tremendous effort over at GSS to look at every possibility to take advantage of this, because we do want to make that effort to get our as many people as we can, young people or whoever, in a career transition to help them with their education, help them work. Like Tim said, we're paying people not to work. Let's try and get them better educated and pay them to work. But it just doesn't seem viable the way this particular grant was written and provided to us.
Yeah, I would say that if we applied for X and they gave us Y, then it's absolutely acceptable to say, well, that's not what, first of all, what we asked for. Second of all, it doesn't fulfill the services that we need to provide. So I think it's very reasonable to say, no, thank you.
Well, we also have some other programs. The federal WIOA program does some of these same sorts of things. So and there's no catch on that. There's no money that we have to give back if people don't succeed. So it's not a total loss that we're not going to be able to do some of this kinds of work. It's just that nobody wanted to refuse this money. But when you look at it, I think everybody agreed that we shouldn't, because it puts us potentially on the hook for $147,000 that's not budgeted.
It might be a little bit of an irony here too, though, that getting this money is based on a projection of success. We can't guarantee success, but we'd like to project a high probability of success or to take this money and spend it. And we can't necessarily do that. So I think, again, it's just a fiscal responsibility.
So I think we should go ahead and if there's enough information to create the resolution, go ahead and do it. Or if we have to amend it to send it to the whole ledge, let's do that.
Mr. Chairman, I will prepare a resolution that will be voted out of this committee then to decline the grant for the reasons discussed today, and we'll circulate that.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Roy?
I did, but I'm leaving it to you to finish the meeting off today.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, so to summarize that then, like our attorney said, we'll prepare the resolution for the committee. So that'll be for next month then? Or do you?
No, today.
We can, you can vote, direct that we do that today and vote it out of committee, that it be prepared to go to the floor, or you can have a special committee meeting in advance of the legislative meeting to consider it at the March 11th meeting, whichever is your preference.
I think we're prepared today. I don't think we need to have a
All right.
special
Yeah,
meeting.
we're prepared today.
All right, Phil, so we
it's
can
a
just take the
resolution to
vote today
decline.
on resolution to,
Got it.
say again? We can vote today on a resolution to decline the,
The motion would be to direct the county attorney and DSS to develop a resolution to decline the grant and forward it to the floor next week.
I make that motion, what you just said.
Yeah.
Briefly describe why?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
I second Jim's motion.
Which was Phil.
well, we've got a first and a second then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
we had one opposed? Or was that a late aye or was that opposed?
If you're asking me, I voted yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. There we go.
Delayed response there, Roy.
I was at, yeah, all right, very good. I think then we're completed with that one. Let's go ahead to our department reports. Do we want to have the department report updates or go what's in the package? Let's do the individual directors' reports. So let's start with your Youth Bureau. Ryan.
Okay, so in your packets, you should have my updates. I'm not going to go into a lot, although since Gina's here, I'll put her on the spot with me. So if you want to come up here, Gina. In your packets, you're going to see that there's some information about a webpage that we are developing, putting together for a virtual career summit. It's going to happen on April 14th. And as some of you are aware, it's replacing the Youth Career Summit that we've done at SUNY Oswego that we're putting on hold this year again because of COVID. So with this virtual career summit on April 14th is we're going to go live with a new webpage, and it's in a collaboration project that not only Gina, but Rachel's involved in as well, that we have a group, a collaborative team who are putting this together. And since Gina's here, I'll let her talk a little bit about it.
Sure. So as Brian mentioned, it's going to be a live event on April 14th, and it's going to be about 2 hours of event. And so what's really fun about it, so it targets 9th to 12th graders. And what we've heard resoundingly from local businesses is that when they hire young people, either high school graduates or college graduates, that they really lack a lot of the work readiness skills. And so we wanted to kind of step in and be able to provide the youth with those type of skills. And so the whole 2 hours, how it will be, we'll have the students act as moderators. We're going to have a business panel discussion where the students are going to be the moderators again. And we have local business. So Adam Avery will be one of the business panelists. We have Jeff Naus, who's a Digital Hive, who launched a marketing company that's a SUNY Oswego alumni, and we're actually looking for 2 more. Then we're going to go ahead and have workshops that the students can choose what workshops they'd like to take. So they'll have a choice of 6 workshops. And then at the end, we'll have some entertainment to make sure that we can keep the students fully engaged for 2 hours. And if you guys have seen anybody from 9th to 12th grade, you know that's really, really hard. And so we're going to do our best to do that, and we're going to have prizes. So right now we're doing a little bit of sponsorship and fundraising. I have sent this out to my board. My board is very engaged with this and is really excited to be a part of it. So I don't know if any of you have any questions, but again, it's the first time we've ever done something like this. I think it's pretty ambitious, but I think that right now with the virtual world that we're kind of living in, I think it really gives us an opportunity to reach in and to all the 9 school districts. And to be honest, it's actually much more economically feasible to do it this way. So after the event, we will then have a website where they can also go for further resources, work readiness resources, and we'll be scheduling mock interviews as well with business professionals locally. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but.
Are there any questions or comments? All right, thanks for that report. Office for the Aging, Sarah. Oh, wait, one.
But thank you for that update. Also, while Rich is here, I don't know is there any update you want to give them regarding what you've been through with the grant recently, the CFA?
Forward call with parks. They require an updated survey, which we didn't expect, so we get a surveyor to take that and we need a title, abstract. So, Health Association no longer owns Princeton College. Requiring someone like a computer science survey.
So the last thing I'll just go from, because you guys can read your packet, is from a conversation with Phil and then with Roy. He's got to give you guys a quick update with the Ready Grant, which is the other one, which we did in Ontario for the bluff erosion at Camp Hollis and the trail on Independence Trail. Both of those were evaluated by Rambo almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Estimates were given in the budget. The Camp Hollis budget was $93,000 over what the award was going to originally be. And Independence Trail was under the amount. With the revised numbers that we've been working with Dave Turner in his office to get revised numbers, the Camp Hollis numbers came in now under budget by less than a few $100s, but still now they're under budget instead of being over. And Independence Trail is over by about $1,000. That is before we do any in-kind, in-house work. So in talking with Phil and such, there's a pretty good chance with state money that we will be under. But Roy thought I should at least bring it to your attention so that if for some reason it does go over, you're aware of it in the future, that this is a possibility that may happen.
Very good. Anyone have any questions or comments for Brian?
Other than that, everything's in the packet. I'm not going to bore you with numbers, but Camp Hollis numbers are actually for March 1st are very high. So that may tell you in our community what families are looking to do with their kids. They're moving up quickly.
Very good.
So I won't take more time unless you guys have questions.
All right. Thanks very much.
Although Legislator Yerdens, we are also going to have programming at Camp Serby this summer. It's in the works.
All right, next up is Office for Aging.
Thank you. I'm going to take this down. So wanted to say all of our office staff, except for 2, have been vaccinated, so we've been very excited with that. Some most recent revelations, the governor, as of Friday, stated that the health department can now vaccinate seniors age 65 and older. So we're very, very excited about that. So we'll be able to continue assisting our seniors to get registered and scheduled and get vaccinated. So we're very happy about that. We also have been in contact with Kinney Drugs and the Association on Aging, and Kinney Drugs will be bringing in up to 2 pods of 500 vaccines per for our seniors. So we'll be working with them to get that organized and scheduled, hopefully being able to utilize the health department's contacts to be able to get that set up so that we can get the seniors vaccinated as well. We've been extremely busy with the phone calls in our office to work with trying to find appointments prior to these new outlets. We have been registering people at the state fairgrounds. That's been kind of our only outlet or our only option to register people. Every time vaccine becomes available at the pharmacies, those appointments are snapped up within 20 minutes, if that. So we have not had a lot of luck in that regard, but hopefully now that these new outlets are available, we'll be able to get as many people in the county vaccinated as possible, those of the 65 plus population. Our home delivered meals program continues to go strong. We are providing about 25,000 meals per month. So it's never slowed down from when the uptick happened in April. So we're continuing to monitor that. We have been told that there'll be some additional stimulus funds that will be coming to the program to help cover the additional costs because the need is still there. So because of the need still being there and the request still there, the state and federal government have recognized that, so nutrition funding is part of the stimulus bill and we should be receiving that funding. The Congregate dining centers that we have, 6 of them, they're still closed. They will remain closed for now. 5 of them have the grab and go meals, so people can still go and pick up a meal and bring it home. And as part of that, they've also been provided games and raffles, try to keep stimulated and occupied. We have about 55 participants over those 5 sites that are picking up those grab and go meals. All of our services, we still are not having people come into the office because we want to maintain their health as well as keep the stability of the health department building. So we've been doing most everything via the phone. If a home appointment is needed, we will go in the home to assess clients, but most everything is being conducted over the phone right now. But all of our programs are up and operating. Caregiver services, that is the programs that we now have virtual support group meetings. So we do have a couple of takers for that, even with seniors. Many of them are not tech savvy, but certainly that is something that has been very important for those caregivers to maintain the connection, and the virtual setting has worked out for a few of them. We're also doing virtual Medicare 101 training workshops. Haven't had many takers in that yet, but we're hoping that we'll get more people interested as the word continues to spread that we will be doing it monthly. We are also doing food boxes, 30 days of food. We've had 6 boxes so far that we've gotten out. If you do know of any senior that's food insecure and they need some shelf-stable items to help their pantry, please forward that to our office so that we can get a one-time box delivered to them. We do bring it right to them. We have probably 35 to 40 boxes in our hallway, so we have a lot of boxes to get out to people. Our robotic pets, we've delivered probably 30 of them to seniors all across the county. It's been a very well-received program. It helps with social isolationism, depression, loneliness. We had a News Channel 9 story, and after that story, all of them were gone. So we did order some more. The order just came in late last week, so we'll be getting more of the robotic pets out. We actually received, one of them went out in the community and somehow its leg wasn't operating properly, so we do have one in our office now too that we can't deploy out, but we have one that helps our stress relief and anxiety in the office as well. So we also, to tie into that, we've also did a Valentine card. We had youth groups in the community make Valentine cards, and we delivered them to seniors. We're also going to be doing Easter cards. And this is the month of March. March is March for Meals, and usually an invitation will go out to come participate, either doing home delivered meals or come to the Congregate site. We won't be doing that this year, but I'll be getting one of these in all of your boxes. This is just a little something that OCO, our nutrition contractor, I march for. You fill it in. If you take a picture, we're going to post it on our site. We just think it's a little something to bring awareness to March's Nutrition Month and March for Meals. So if anybody who wants to participate in that and take a picture and send it to me, we'll get it posted. And that's really the updates that I have, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Well, I have a comment.
Yes.
Your robotic dog program has been so successful that someone who did not qualify went through New York Connects. And today we got something from them that approved us buying one.
That's great, because we do get calls from people who are under age 60 who have requested the pets, because it really is not just for older individuals. They really do relieve stress and anxiety. And even though it is a robot and it's a stuffed toy, they're just, I mean, they make noise, they move, they purr, the dogs bark. They're just really unique. You don't have to feed them, you don't have to walk them, you don't have to, I mean, they just sit on your lap. And they are very, I mean, if you leave them alone, they will, if you have it on the setting, they will bark at you or they will meow at you if you don't have any motion for a while. So they are very sensitive to that. So
I don't need one. Thank you. I just wanted to share that with you. I thought that caught a few of us by surprise that it went through that direction and came back approved. So it's a successful program when you've got people that feel they need it and do qualify, and it came in that direction. So congratulations.
Yes, some of the first ones that were deployed were coming up on a year, so we'll be doing follow-up with them to see how they're doing. Some of the initial phone calls, we did reach out with people, and they're doing better. I mean, their loneliness is better, but it's not as good as the initial pilot program because we're still in COVID-19. There's still many things that they cannot do. So even though the pets assist with that and they have someone to talk to, it's still not like being able to get back out in the community. So we'll have more information on that when the year comes up.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments for Sarah? Sarah, thanks for that report. Artie, you're up again. DSS.
The only big real update that we have, other than what we've already been talking about, is that we are actively working on our annual report for 2020, and we're very hopeful that you'll see that by the end of next month. So, well, this month. It's already March today. That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Anybody got anything for DSS? All right. And last, Director Hamlin, Jamie Hamlin, are you on?
I am. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
You can hear me okay?
We can hear you and occasionally see you.
Perfect. Okay, so just real quick, the Veterans Office has been working on getting information together to push a resolution through next month regarding the Purple Heart counties. Senator Daphne Jordan had pushed through a bill last year originally to get counties involved in becoming Purple Heart counties, which means that we acknowledge the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients. And if she were to get enough counties to become Purple Heart counties, then New York would become a Purple Heart state. And there may be additional funding federally once New York becomes a Purple Heart state. I did not push the resolution through for that this month because I'm still waiting on answers to some questions I have. As for instance, like, do we have to do anything to be a Purple Heart County? Is there something that we have to do ceremoniously? So I'm waiting for questions or for answers back to those questions. So a resolution will come for that next month. I do have a new staff member. He started January 18th. His name is Matias Garcia. He is prior service over in Afghanistan and Iraq. He seems to be fitting in nicely, so we're very happy to have him. And eventually I will bring him to a committee meeting so you can all meet him. With that being said, we do have an employee retiring at the end of April. I know when I pushed through the resolution to hire a veteran service officer that we had talked quite a bit about this impending retirement in that memo. However, I do intend to produce a new memo to the committee in order to replace that position once it becomes vacant. Veteran of the Year applications will be coming out by the end of this month. So please, please, please engage your constituents. Oh, I apologize for my dog. The mailman is about to die. So, sorry. So the Veteran of the Year applications will come out and we'll keep those open most likely into through the end of May or maybe even through the end of June. We had a lot of applications come through very late last year, but unfortunately, I don't really feel like we should hold them open like that again, but we'll see how they come in. From June of last year, sorry, from May 1st of last year until today, we've processed 2,174 veteran interactions through our agency. We started using a new system in May of last year that has allowed us to track every interaction that we've had. It's been very nice to see that. On January 21st, state funds were submitted and they were accepted. Well, the state voucher was submitted and accepted by the state on 1/21. However, we don't know how much we're actually going to receive until the governor approves the budget. But it is most likely that we'll receive 8,000 of the 10,000, and they're going to hold on to 20% of that. Hopefully not indefinitely, but there was no release date if they do hold 20% of the state funding. And that's all I have.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Veteran Services Agency? Going once, twice. All right, Jamie, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So we're just about ready to wrap up. Are there any other questions or comments for the committee or anything that needs to be brought forth? I would just like to mention that our the county's and those clinics and those shots have done. So please, from the legislature, get back to your committee or to your departments that we appreciate those efforts. It's gone very, very well. So at this time then, is there anything else to discuss? Anything else be forward on the committee? All right, thanks for everyone that participated today and has come out here, and especially thanks for our technical help up front. I know we complain about things at times, and when it goes wrong, you're the target and we throw things at you, but occasionally they do go right. So thanks for that and keep that one up. Anything else then? Look for the appropriate motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Going twice. Got it. Thank you.